I recognize the member for Timiskaming Cochrane.
Thank you, Speaker. It's always an honor to stand in this House, even at this early hour. It's an incredible honor for me to be in the presence of the Premier of Ontario, of the Ministers of the Crown, of a constitutional expert this evening. It's an incredible honor. But there's so many things that have been discussed tonight. First of all, it's good. It's good that we have to pull an all-nighter once in a while so that we know what the rest of the people, because as a farmer, I've pulled a few all-nighters. And farmers across the province might be pulling an all-nighter as we speak, because in the harvest season, a little farming fact, I always like to put a farming fact in. When there's no dew, you go all night. And you keep going until it rains, because you're going to get rain when there's no dew. And I'm happy we're going all night tonight, because with the Ford government, it might never stop raining. But I listened very closely to the debate tonight, to all the debate. And I learned a lot. I listened to the government House Leader and about how we were on the front porch of history, in his opinion. What I'm worried about, and what our party is worried about, is that nobody gets pushed off the front porch. Yeah. And they don't really seem to be worried about that. The government House Leader made a reasoned argument, which I totally disagree with, and I'm going to try and bring that argument down into a language that I understand. So, does the government have the right to make legislation? Yes. Right? What was challenged in this legislation was this legislation changed the rules for an election that was in midstream. It's like, in common language, if you're going to organize, if you have a hockey league, the Board of Governors sets out the rules and the teams play, and then you're in the playoffs, which is the election, and you say, in Game 3, you decide to change the rules. And you say the tournament can continue because, you know, the players are still there. Oh, well, no, actually some of the players are moved because the rule changes, but everything's going to work out in the end. No, you're potentially impacting the outcome of the decision. Because not only are the wards are changing, everything is changing. So now, some of the players contest. And they appeal. And the referee agrees. And the Board of Governors, which is the government, overrules the referee, which is the Charter of Rights, and says everything's fine. But you know what's really wrong? And what the member from Ottawa, Vanthof, pointed out very succinctly, you lose faith in the league. Because if you're worried that every time something doesn't go the way they like, that they just overrule the referee's call, slowly your league falls apart. And our league is the faith. We all talk about democracy, but when we talk about trust, but you are playing with the trust of the people. I also, during this debate, the Minister of Economic Development said, you go to court, these things are appealed all the time. Right. And that's great. They're not actually legislation isn't appealed that much, but that's the proper procedure. But what you're doing isn't the appeal process. What you're doing is you're overruling the whole process. Yes, you are. And then the Charter of Rights is in the Constitution, but it's not meant to be used willy-nilly at the whim. There are certain things.
The member is right, there are certain things, and among them are all remarks should be directed to and through the chair, the crosstalk can perhaps cease. You'll have an opportunity for questions and comments, I'm sure. The member may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. I think it's commonly understood by the people who are much more qualified than I, who have put their opinions forward, including former Prime Minister Mulroney, former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, one of the authors of the notwithstanding clause, that it shouldn't be used at the whim of, when the Premier says, and he wouldn't be afraid to use it again. That is why the people outside are still there. That is why there's so many people weighing in, including, I believe, I don't know how many hundred legal professors, 400, who are weighing in this issue. That hasn't happened here before. I've been here since 2011. Very proud to be here. Sometimes surprised that I'm still here. But this hasn't happened before. And people in their hearts know that something is changing here. And when you think about what other things the government could use the notwithstanding clause for, once you open that door, it's a Pandora's box. It's never been used in this province. It's very rarely used in the country. The member from Ottawa-Vanier mentioned that it's never been used before the case got to the Supreme Court. Yet the government discounts that because they have to move so quickly, knowing full well that they could get this. We disagree with what they're doing, but they could get what they want to get done through normal channels, and it would take a bit longer. But when I drive through Toronto to get here, I don't see a city that's falling apart. I see parts of Northern Ontario that are falling apart, and a lot of people haven't seemed to notice for a long time. But I don't see a city that's falling apart like some people here are describing. There are much bigger issues that we need to tackle. There are, but one of the issues that we definitely, and with this evening is the main focus of this debate, if you're willing to supersede people's rights on this issue because you want to hurry up the mandate of an election, or you want to, then what else are you willing to supersede the rights of Ontarians for? What else? I think that is the crux of the matter. That's the crux of the matter. And we need to look at that very carefully, because we are on the front porch of history. But if it's done, we could very well, the front porch might fall off the house along and crush a few people. And that's our job, to make sure that doesn't happen, Speaker. So I implore the members on the other side to take a real cold, sober look at what they're doing. And if that couple months that they're trying to change the size of City Council, if that's worth it, to take that chance with the future rights of Ontarians. With that, Speaker, I'd like to share my time with the member of Davenport. Thank you.